Jimmy AKENA is continuing to show that he got some knowledge from his late father, the second president, Milton Obote, on how to do politics. He came out to reveal the reason as to why he wanted to run for the presidency. And for me, it's what I always talked about. In fact, Jimmy AKENA said this statement.
I can be open with you. My game plan for 2026, the presidential, I was not going to win.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. I was not going to win.
That is interesting.
I'm a realist. But I created pathways, and those pathways go beyond Lango. What I intended for this election was to get enough votes to become a significant player in determining where Uganda goes.
Okay.
The target was, if you could get between 1.5, initially it was between 1.1 to 1.5 million votes, you will get a situation where you will not have any candidate getting 50 plus 1 vote, 50 plus 1 in the first round, which means there'll be a second round.
Yes.
Second round will be the top 2 candidates. I was not expecting to be in the top 2. But at that stage, my agenda becomes very important. It is on the table. Nobody can ignore it. That was the basis. So what we worked on was, what are the policy questions which we need to address for the people of Uganda? So our focus was more on the content. Where is the future? How do we handle this problem? How do we innovatively handle this issue? I've been telling you over the years, it's not a question of giving the net, but training people how to make the net.
Yes.
That is Jimmy AKENA. First of all, very many people criticize him for coming out and confirming that running for the presidency was not thinking of winning, but he wanted to make a presidential face-off, because our constitution says that if one fails to retain 51 plus 1, 50 plus 1, you can go in another election. And I want to look at that. First of all, Jimmy AKENA coming out to say that, it clearly shows that he's knowledgeable about politics. In fact, a lion produces a lion. Obote came from Akokoro, was able to meet the king of Uganda to form an alliance so that he can be prime minister, and later Obote became president. It's not by mistake, it is through wisdom and strategy. And that is what Jimmy AKENA wanted to do. So the purpose of this video, I've come to show you the highlights of Jimmy AKENA's communication, what it means for our politics, and most importantly, the study materials we can learn from the politics of our nation. But before I do this, I want to let you know that if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. And if you're watching this video from a different platform, please head on to YouTube, type in Sula Mawagali. There's a lot of content of this nature. If geopolitics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. First of all, Jimmy AKENA wanting to run for president, I think even General MUSEVENI knew the outcome that was going to happen, and he decided to fight Jimmy AKENA not to be on the ballot. It was not by mistake that Kizza Besigye was in jail, he was not able to be on the ballot. It was not a mistake that Jimmy AKENA was not on the ballot. You want to tell me that Jimmy AKENA and Besigye failed to get the required signatures and money to be on the ballot than Malema Bilizi and others? It is impossible. But because General MUSEVENI knew what he was doing, he decided to block Jimmy AKENA. Because I keep on telling people that for anyone to run for president, you must have 2 major things. One, before you even think of running for the president, as a presidential candidate, you must be with a base. The reason that's why the people like Norbert Mawos and ETs have not made it on the presidential ballot with extra effort is because they don't have a base. It was the same as Nandala Mafabi and Patrick Amuriato Boy. A base, I mean, where you come, the region you come from, you must be able to make that region vote for you. The reason that's why Bobby Wine is sitting on national table, and when they talk about General Museveni's succession, the name Bobby Wine cannot fail to come, is because the region he comes from Buganda, before he even goes on the ballot, is rest assured of more than 3 million votes or 2 million votes. And the only candidate that has that, in my opinion, although he has not tested it, is Jimmy AKENA. basing on the UPC representation in Lango sub-region. In fact, in this election, UPC got 12 members of parliament. Ever since Obote left power, I think it's the only time UPC is getting more members of parliament. Imagine if AKENA had run as a president, they would get even more. Because being on the ballot, you even sell your MPs and your party. In fact, I was an advocate of AKENA, working closely with Bobi Wine with a written document. But because there was no written document, if you've been my ardent follower, you know this. They voted UPC and NRM, consensus were shared, but the presidential vote went to General Kaguta Museveni. Do you know why? AKENA didn't work closely with Bobi Wine in the Lango sub-region. I keep on telling people that there is no political party that can be strong everywhere. I'm an ardent supporter of NUP, but I know even if you send Jesus in Uganda, there are some regions where NUP cannot be strong. Or even if it catches up and another region can fall. Case in example, even with NRM dictatorial tendencies, money, RDCs, PISO, etc., still some region failed. Like Uganda failed, like Busoga failed. When NRM was being voted in Buganda, in the northern it used to fail. So even with NRM, with the army, PISO, police, campaigning for it, ministers, etc., it is not gonna support in the whole country. So forces of change within the opposition should learn to work together, most especially in the regional powers. The only political party that has a regional base is UPC. Away from the NUP is UPC. So and AKENA is the right position to work with friendly forces if they want to take General Museveni home. Even General Museveni knows how to play politics. In his cabinet always appoints UPC and some other political parties, some people who have influence in the different regions, because he knows as opposition we failed. So for me, first of all, I wanted AKENA to be on the ballot. It was strategic. But even when he was not about, I wanted him to work with Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. That's why when I saw Bobi Wine visiting AKENA at his home and AKENA visiting Bobi Wine, it was a good gesture, but it ought to have been put on paper. And to an extent, how I wish I saw Bobi Wine and Lango campaigning for UPC candidates. It would have been good. Maybe he would have gotten the vote for the president. It is the fact. And to show you that even General Museveni knows this, General Museveni wanted to appoint AKENA minister because he knows he's a force to reckon with in the Lango sub-region. If General Museveni appoints you a minister in the Lango sub-region, you'll end up taking away your backyard. Opposition should learn this. In fact, AKENA said this.
No, I can tell you that after 2011, I was offered, invited, approached to join the cabinet, which I declined.
Can I say that invitation came from General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni?
Appointments come from the president.
Okay. Yes. The appointing authority.
The appointing authority.
True.
Then I went through some particular difficulties. There was a hit and run accident which could never really be explained. So I took a back seat. And that hit and run accident followed 3 strange robberies. Where I was living, house was broken into, all electronics were taken. I mean phones, but TV and things remained. My mother's place in Kololo, there was a break-in. Okay. 1 week later. A week after that one, Lira. At home. Here.
Near the barracks?
Near the barracks. All computer disks were removed, but here they also took my generator, which was upstairs on the balcony, which was a bit strange.
That is strange.
The week after that one, I'm hit and run. I'm on my bike, I get a call, I should go for a meeting in Ntinda. It was at night. I insisted I was going, I got hit and run. Just at a later, just shortly out of Entebbe. Spent 3 weeks in hospital. It affected me. I mean, even up to now, my shoulder, my back. It was a bad accident. I took a back seat. I was concerned because you could see the president had an interest.
Okay.
But there were those who were uncomfortable. So I said, no, I'd rather sit it out. 2016, the offer now came very direct. on a one-to-one meeting. And I said, no, sir, I cannot.
And what was the reason this
But
time around?
no, I had my political reasons.
Okay, all right.
Right? I had my reasons because I, as somebody, I come from a different political ideology. And I mentioned it with him. And for him, he has said, okay, forging unity. But there was also a reason why we needed unity. Coming out of the peace process, we needed ways of how we can communicate and how we needed to show a more united front on how we can move forward. So after the 2016 elections, the offer came again. And this time I said, I will not take the seat, but I will provide you a suitable alternative. That is the basis under which Honorable Betty got appointed.
Okay.
That is Jimmy AKENA. So, for me, I speak as the opposition. Opposition should learn to work together. Opposition should learn that it is okay. You can still take power without your party being everywhere. Even in Kenya, Uhuru's first term was taken by two parties. TNA was in Mountain Kenya, where Uhuru comes from. URP was in Rift Valley, where Ruto came from. They took power. In the second term, they made it one party, but still it was strong in Mountain Kenya, Rift Valley, and some parts of the Western. In other regions, it was weak. It didn't even get members of parliament in the Nyanza, etc. So you can still take power without necessarily being strong everywhere. So as long as you maximize where you are strong to get 98% representation and a vote, and that can only be gotten in case for the recently concluded 2026 election, it can be got, for example, how I wish Bobby Wine worked with AKENA. The language vote and part of actually would be for Bobby Wine. And even the representation of UPC would go more from would go above 12. It is the truth. Of course, as my opinion remains truly Mr. Makindi, Kavi Sulaiman Magal. If you're into this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment so that I can be motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.